Welcome to Voices of MCU, where we delve into the depths of wisdom and spirituality. Get ready as we embark on a journey of fostering faith and cultivating leaders. And now it's time for Leadership Unleashed with Dr. John Ughulu, where purpose, faith, and leadership meet.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is indeed a pleasure and a privilege talking to you today about the role of ethics in leadership. I am grateful for your time and your willingness to invest in something that not only shapes our character, but also defines the legacy we leave behind, and that is ethical leadership. Wherever you are, I want you to write this down. Ethical leadership. We will be looking into the role of ethics in leadership. Leadership is not just about influence or power. It is about responsibility. Leadership is about integrity, and leadership is about service. But the big question is, what happens when leadership lacks ethics? Today, I want us to take a journey, and it is a journey into our values, a journey into history, a journey into scripture, and a journey into the very heart of what it means to lead with ethics. And today's teaching will be divided into 6 parts. So part 1, my question is, what is ethics in leadership? So you who is an aspiring leader, a seasoned leader, a brand new leader, or a leader in transition, this topic for today will be very important for you. What is ethics in leadership? Ethics in leadership refers to the principles and values that guide a leader in making a decision or making decisions that are fair, honest, and just. These are not just corporate buzzwords. They are the compass that ensures we lead without losing our soul. And if you're a leader who's listening to me right now, or an aspiring leader, I have a thought-provoking question to ask you. And my question is as follows. If your followers could not hear a word you say, but only watched how you live, would they call you an ethical leader? I want you to ponder on that while we head into part 2. And in the second part, we will be looking at the Bible and ethical leadership. I am a person of faith, and there is no way I can talk about leadership without talking about the scripture. So let us begin with a powerful biblical story, and we will be looking at the story of Joseph, the son of Jacob. And our Bible reference or verse will be from Genesis 39 to 41. You can write that down, Genesis 39 to 41. Joseph was a man of vision and integrity. Joseph was sold into slavery by his own brothers. He also found himself serving in the house of Potiphar. Potiphar was an Egyptian official. Now, one day, Potiphar's wife tried to seduce him. But guess what happened? Joseph responded by saying, "How then could I do such a wicked thing and sin against God?" That was in Genesis chapter 39, verse 9. I want you to write that down. What did Joseph do here? He chose integrity over temptation. He knew that leadership begins with character, not position. He was thrown into prison for doing the right thing. But guess what? With time, Joseph rose to become the governor of Egypt. And if I may ask, why did that happen? It happened because his ethics remained intact even when no one was watching. My question to you who's listening to me right now is, what would you have done in a situation like that? And the lesson here is that ethics will not always be comfortable, but it will always be rewarding. And another powerful example is Daniel. When a decree was made that no one should pray to any god except the king, Daniel refused to compromise his values. He prayed as he had always done. The act of ethical courage landed him in the lion's den, but it also earned him favor with God and also respect from the king. Daniel chapter 6 verse 4 says, he was trustworthy and neither corrupt nor negligent. What would you have done as a leader? Yes, you who's listening. Now, this is a thought-provoking question that I want you to ponder on. Would you still stand for your values if it costs you your position? Think about it as we move to part 3. In this part, we will be looking at ethical leadership in modern history. So let us turn our attention to a man who shaped the world through ethical conviction. And that person is Nelson Mandela. We all know that Mandela spent 27 years in prison because he refused to compromise on justice and human rights. When he was finally released, the world expected revenge from this great man. But Mandela chose reconciliation over retaliation. In his own words, he said, I have walked that long road of freedom. I have discovered the secret that after climbing a great hill, one only finds that there are many more hills to climb. Nelson Mandela became president, but he ruled not with bitterness, but with grace. Ethics gave him moral authority, and that is the kind of leadership that heals nations. And the lesson to take from this is that ethics gives us credibility, and credibility gives us influence. I want you to write that down. Ethics gives us credibility, and credibility gives us influence. Let's move over to part 4 of this presentation. We will be talking about practical ethics in leadership. Write that down. Practical ethics in leadership. So how do we lead ethically in today's world? How do you lead in your organization? How do you lead currently in your home, in your family? How do you lead right now in your relationships? How do you lead your church? How do you lead your business? That's a very deep question. And I want to share 5 points, 5 strategies on how to lead ethically in today's world. Number 1, be honest. It means you should always tell the truth, even when it hurts. Number 2, be accountable. Accountability is a big thing. Sometimes you wonder and you ask why people find it challenging to be accountable. So to be accountable means to take responsibility for your actions. That's what leaders do. Number 3, be fair. It means you should be ready to treat everyone with respect and without favoritism. And number 4, we must be courageous. A leader must stand for what is right, even when standing alone. That's what differentiates you. That's what should differentiate a leader from others. Stand for what is right, even when standing alone. And lastly, number 5, be humble. It means you should always learn to admit when you are wrong and be willing to learn. Leadership is a lifelong journey. It's a lifelong learning process, and humility plays a vital role. So let's look at part 5 of this teaching. And we will be talking here about ethical dilemmas that leaders face. We all know that leadership will challenge your ethics on a daily basis. And I want you to imagine this. What do you do when a small lie will save your company a huge loss? Think about it. What do you do when your team is loyal, but one person is dishonest? And what do you do when your values conflict with your company's culture? We all know these are not easy questions, but ethical leaders don't take the easy way, but instead they take the right way. So I want you to ponder on this question for a second. What would you still choose? Would you choose the right thing if no one ever gave you credit for it? Think about it. Would you, yes, you who's listening, would you still choose the right thing if no one ever gave you credit for it? I want to leave that question for every leader who's listening right now to think about and respond. And let's go to the final part of this presentation, which is legacy and impact. I want you to know that your leadership is not just about today. It is about the legacy you leave. Now, what do we consider as legacy? I always like to remind leaders, whether you are an aspiring leader, a brand new leader, a seasoned leader, I like to always remind leaders that legacy is not necessarily what we leave behind for people, but instead, legacy is what we leave behind in people. Think about it. One thing is certain, titles fade. Not just that, awards tarnish, but character echoes through generations. The book of Proverbs chapter 22 verse 1 says, a good name is more desirable than great riches. It went further to say to be esteemed is better than silver or gold. I want you to be the kind of leader who is remembered not just for what you built, but for how you built it. I hope that resonates with somebody right now. Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to know that ethics in leadership is not a luxury. It is a necessity. It is the difference between temporary success and lasting impact. It is the light that guides us through moral fog. As a leader, you may never stand before millions like Nelson Mandela. You may never govern a nation like Joseph. But in your sphere of influence, maybe your business, in your family, in your ministry, or in your school, you can choose to lead with ethics. Because at the end of the day, the most important question is not how far did I go, but how well did I walk the path? I want you to think about it. How well do you intend to walk the path? Thank you so much for listening. It's been a pleasure and a privilege, and stay blessed.
If you would like to become a sponsor of Voices of MCU, please go to the description, find the link, and connect with us.